Welcome to Beyond the Resume. I'm Yochanan Shamailov. In this show, we go deeper than job titles and polished CVs to explore the real stories, decisions, and values behind the people who build companies, shape teams, and drive culture. Today, attracting and keeping the right talent isn't just an HR challenge, it's a business challenge. And here in Lithuania, we're at a turning point. We have the talent, the potential, and the chance to define what work and leadership can look like in a modern economy. This series is about asking better questions. What does it really take to build a strong team? What matters beyond experience and credentials? And how do we make Lithuania a magnet for world-class talent? My guest today is someone I've collaborated with, learned from, and admired for years, Lina Bartusevičiūtė. She's built brands across continents, hired globally, and isn't afraid to challenge outdated thinking about leadership, marketing, or company culture. Let's dive in. So today on the show, it's a bit of a different format. We are not walking on the streets of Vilnius or any other city. We are sitting across each other. You're on the TV, I'm here. And unfortunately, we're not able to fly over to Hong Kong, where you, Lina, are residing. So I hope that we will make this episode of Beyond the Resume as engaging and as interesting as it was while walking on the streets of Vilnius. Let's maybe dig in straight away into the first topic and the first question of Beyond the Resume on this episode. When talking about cross-cultural entrepreneurship, I know that you are a champion on this issue and on this question and topic. When Europe meets Asia, so what is the biggest cultural misunderstanding European entrepreneurs make when entering China or Hong Kong?
Well, first, thank you for doing the math. Makes me feel a little mature. 10 years is a lot. I still feel like a teenager sometimes, so that's a solid math. Yeah, I don't know. I think cross-cultural as a subject is a very interesting subject because I studied cultural studies for my bachelor's degree, the Chinese studies. So I dedicated my academic career to understanding the cultural differences, And what I found that there is no cultural difference. This is my position,
okay.
And I believe that we're in the culture of business. And then we need to think, what is our business? What is our project? Where is our value? What are we working towards? And if everybody on the team is clear on this, then it doesn't matter what are their personal habits, because I think there is culture and then there's personality. So you can find the same personality in China as you will find in Lithuania. For example, I personally will have much more to talk about with the CEO who's a woman who's from China and has been in the same industry for 15 years than a Lithuanian who's a basketball player, a dude, right? So we will have much more in common with the CEO lady in China than with the Lithuanian basketball player, personally.
Right.
So I believe that there is more to the culture, and there is a culture of high school. And I think across the world, people play the same games in high school, There's the culture of kindergarten, there's a culture of family, like people eat dinners together. So there are many more similarities when you look for it. And I think culture often becomes a scapegoat and an excuse when people don't know how to operationally, execute their business goals. I don't know, that's my position after 15 years of doing this professionally.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting look on it because I've been working myself cross-culturally for many years now, and one of the reasons we met was also to understand the mechanics and the way to actually enter the Chinese market. And you have done some amazing work with us by finding all those designers at a very short period of time. You've been working your magic through that, but still, I think there is a perception of business when you talk about the Middle East, Asia, Southeast Asia, which is which is, culturally different if you look at us from a visual perspective, right? But then I think the perception of people is that culturally they're also different. And you have touched upon a very, very important point here, which is that culturally we're all the same, we're human beings. It's about the project, it's about the product, the service that you're trying to sell or purchase from
About
each
the
other.
value, I
And
would like
if
to
you
add, I'm
focus,
sorry, about the value,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Add value, make money. This is the Hong Kong's, mantra.
Right, right. So if you look at the essence of your product, your services, or whatever it may be, culture becomes a bit more redundant. It's not about your looks or your visual perspective. It's more so about what are you here trying to achieve, and let's talk business. Which is a very, very interesting look on cross cultural, and I personally think that's also true in my personal experience. So when talking about building trust across vastly different business environments. So for instance, I've been working with the FMCG sector for many years. I've been working with the diamond industry as well. And what you see is that, there is a certain trust question when you're not from the same industry. What are the things that you think matter most when you actually come from a different industry or try to merge different industries together? What is the key aspect there?
So Hong Kong mantra is add value, make money. So you need to prove your value, right?
Okay.
And because our NDAs have long expired, since you mentioned it's been 10 years, I can share an example of what we did together. And I was new in a fashion industry, and it's super high fashion. These are the top designers of China, and what you guys want to bring is insane. It's quite incredible. And me, I don't come from fashion, and probably I grew up with a very good tailor who taught me to style. So, and for that project, I think I told you I hired a stylist specifically to make sure that I can represent you guys in a way that is respectful and in a way that I look like a insider. And there were many moments when I needed to prove myself. So first, we have a common friend, and first question is, why did I get this job as a person not coming from a luxury fashion industry, right? So in China, it's very common and very normal to work with friends. So my first explanation before they even ask, I was like, actually, I have a friend for some years and he's now working on this project, and this is why they trust me to work on this for them in China. And this was the qualifying criteria for them to screen me as a proper, person of contact, right?
Right.
So this is one, trust building. Now the other is building rapport, like how does this person trust me? And that's a story of a very famous Chinese fashion icon, Angel Chen. And she is famous in China because she shaved her head and she went into all of the Buddhist designs and stuff. And me personally, you see, I've been practicing Buddhism for many, many years, and it's very easily visible. And I've done lots of meditation, and I've visited lots of temples and lots of masters. And at the time when I was meeting her, I just came back from India not too long ago, and I said, wow, I really like your hairstyle. I would like to shave my head as well when I'm able to, because currently for the job I can't do that. And this is how we build rapport. We were sharing what does it mean for us to be, practicing Buddhism, why is it interesting for us, and this made us trust each other, right? Because there was a common interest beyond the business, and then for her it was interesting that I can bring her value on a personal level as well, right? So I think people are people, and we do business with people, and then you need to be personable, and you need to find a way to connect with that person, and it's beyond the culture, I think.
Yeah, that's an amazing way of putting it, because what you're essentially saying is that building trust, building cross-border, cross-departments, cultural businesses is all about your sales skills. Because everything you just discussed is about sales, about how do I sell myself? What are the connection points I find between myself and this person I'm talking to? It doesn't matter if we come from different cultures, if we come from different business backgrounds. It's finding this one common denominator between me and the person standing in front of me in order to make a connection. But you're making the connection with a human being, not about his interests or his businesses or anything like that. And everything grows from that. That's something very, very essential, which I have learned as well for myself. And I think throughout my experience as well, something to add here is that a lot of salespeople which are unsuccessful in selling dumb down the whole sales process into, okay, here is the product or here is my service. I need to find people who need it. And based on their business needs and based on their requirements, if it's a B2B sale or a B2C sale or any other sale, they look at it from a very dry perspective. But it's not. Even in the trading business, which I come from, it's everyone is offering the same product to the same people, So what is this differentiator that makes you stand out from the crowd? It's not about only your services, your trust, or anything like that. It's more so about the connection of two human beings. And that's very essential. Great, Lina. Let's move on to a bit of a different topic from here. So. Building and scaling companies from scratch. I've known you for many years, and you're always busy doing something. And we've talked recently about some of the business that you have started recently. How do the 100 first days look like for you, and what do you focus on when building a business?
I think we can go back to that sales funnel example, like what we did for your situation. You remember what we did in the first 100 days. First, we researched the market. We really dig deep and we identify who will be the people, because they really don't need what you're offering, right? They really don't need, this thing doesn't exist. We need to give them an idea, the vision, and bring them on board. And we were very successful. Out of, I think, 16 people, we onboarded 15. Only one was the person who doesn't use the internet at all. So there was nothing I could do, right? But we had a lot of research about each brand, each individual, each person. And we actually spend a lot of time on the presentation on how will we pitch? How will we present it ourselves? Then I remember we did all of the compliance. We protected your brand, we protected your product, we made sure it's not, copyable, right? Like not easy to steal. We did the research on where the market is going. So there is a lot of business intelligence that goes into that. And then when you arrived to China, the meetings, I know that they went very, very well. Like people were very open, they were very engaging, they were very vulnerable as well, I heard, in a couple of meetings as well. Yeah. So it was my skill and my work because of how I reached out to them through my network. Everybody kind of used my name because I've been there for a long time already in China. So I'm a trusted person, and another trusted person would, reach out and talk to them. And I think we just kind of in one way or another replicate this process for anyone. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or do you have any questions about it?
No. It makes total sense. It's more so, the first 100 days are fairly vulnerable. You are very right in this, especially the research. It's more so about finding, what you may think the world needs, and actually checking the status quo. Does it make sense to other people as well? So that's perfectly clear.
Maybe I want to add one more thing. Like for my current AI agent, we did the research with more than 100 expert managers because we're helping them sell food and beverage products to Asian consumers. So we actually had a very well-defined questionnaire when we started, and then we engaged more than 100 expert managers. All of them, like 97% of them, had experience working with Asia. And then we actually asked them a lot of questions about what would they want the AI to do for them, what do they want to delegate, where are the most mistakes, what happens, how can we help you? This was the question. And this is how we innovated on the product features, not by saying I know this, but actually asking them, what do you need, how can I help, right? So this is how we spend more than 100 days, but yeah. I think your definition, like how do you, and our research, what we did for you guys in China was the same, except we're not engaging the users. We engaged them when I started talking to them, right? We had a lot of questions, then I would give you reports. But before that, we were prepared. So same with, with other projects.
True. Okay, and so what are the make or break decisions in a startup's early stage? If to put it very, very dryly, let's say.
So, I heard this story not so long ago, and I wanted to share. I think it is damaging when a person has too much money. I think you
elaborate.
need to be.
Please elaborate.
I think you will spend a lot of money in all the wrong places. Like I saw a lot of food and beverage brands that build factories. They build, good technology for production, but by the end of that project, they have spent 3 million euros, and they haven't tested the product with the market. So they don't know anything about branding, and suddenly they don't have any more budget for doing what I just talked
resources.
about: the research, talking to consumers, getting feedback, checking out the competitors, like making it competitive. So I see that people who start from ground zero, they get funding, they get, loans, and they have deep understanding on the consumer needs. I think with very little money, they fly much higher than people who start from a different perspective, like, okay, I'll just build this factory and then people will come. That is not how it works. Yeah.
Isn't this a bit, the confidence that a successful business, because most of those companies that you're mentioning have already built a successful business, abroad. Yeah. They have built successful products. They have gone into different markets as well. So that confidence actually gives them the trust in themselves to not start from the consumer, but start from the product, and then the consumer will adapt to it.
So then I tell the client, I say, do you want to teach the consumer to use your product, or do you want to give consumer something that they already want? Because teaching them to develop a need is much more expensive. But then adapting to your consumer is expensive on your end in production, adjustment, branding and stuff, but then your cash flow will be healthier. So there were many situations when I looked at the data and I say, look, if you want to play by your book, it's going to be, profitable in 3 to 5 years. But if you want to adapt, we need to focus on this, and that when marketing. And then it's a conversation, like how much can they adapt? How flexible are they in their positioning?
Right. Okay, that's clear. Let's try to move on to the essence of this show, which is called Beyond the Resume, and moving along into the hiring process. So the next topic is called hiring cross borders, and how do you evaluate candidates from different cultures when interviewing remotely? And I know you have a very, very strong tendency to hire globally, no matter where they are in the world, and I have been personally also involved in a few endeavors with you. But let's talk about what is the common denominator of these hiring processes.
For me, the person I want to hire, I prefer people who have lived outside of the country that they were born in for a significant amount of time, because we have established that when people are too attached to their truth that they were born into, the culture that they're given by their parents, and they believe it too much, and they have always been relying on their mom to get lunch, right? They never left their city or their country. I believe these people are less resilient. So the people that I normally hire, they have been expats for a significant amount of time, at least 2-3 years, and they speak many languages, and they were able to even marry or date across cultures, right? They became very comfortable in staying themselves, but also adapting to circumstances. So this is the type of person that I would hire.
Is this a must in your hiring process, or is this a nice to have?
For the core members, it's pretty much a must.
Wow, that's a very bold statement, because we can expand on this topic and go quite wide. Personally, I am also a very good candidate to be hired by you. But
you would be.
I believe that equally people that have, as you put it, not come out of their comfort zone, right, and not have mingled with different cultures, live elsewhere, their view of the world is definitely different. It doesn't matter how much you travel the world, you still come back to a home base, which is your home base. Okay, that's a very interesting look at it. But have you had any situations where you hired someone outside of your, let's say, checklist, and has been proven to be positive, and has been proven to be workable?
So I think a lot of companies have their own philosophy in hiring.
Sure.
So my philosophy is I want to work with personalities. So again, when we started, we said that there is a culture, right? Like the culture that you belong to, where you were born into. But also there's a personality within that culture that's usually quite different from the, denomination, the popular culture. So I like people who are fully expressed as humans, right? Like I like them to be innovative in their own creativity. And they're usually, very resilient, very creative, very powerful in coming up with ideas, and very flexible. Like my business partner, he once said a huge compliment to me. He said, "Lina, you're very flexible because you're very intelligent. You can hold two ideas that are conflicting and you don't choose one unless you have to. But you choose something in a pragmatic way. Like I don't have this deep belief in anything really, I'm not attached to this identity of a cultural bias." So, I think the question was, have I hired outside of my norms? So I believe that hire for attitude, train for competence, right? So maybe I will hire somebody who's not yet ready to do what I want to do. And I had this situation here in Hong Kong. It is originally a chemical engineer, right?
Okay.
Turned into trade executive, turned into data scientist, right? Pretty cool. He was during the pandemic working on textile chemical engineering, right? And he realized that this physical presence in the factory was complicated, so he wanted to use the same skills but through the data analysis, right? And so he spent a lot of years in developing these skills. But then that vast idea about different perspectives on the same subject, because he has a real on-the-ground experience. Like when I talk about culture, he's very, oh yeah, I've been in that situation. Yes, you're right. I could have done it the way you say it. So he has this very personal, but what I'm hiring now in Hong Kong for my startup is, head of data, right? So he was very open, and he was saying, I'm not sure, blah, blah. And I like this kind of person, right? And then after 2 hours of small, short interview, he said, I'm ready, I'm gonna do it, right? So this is the person, I think, which is maybe a little bit outside of my scope. Like I would prefer this person to be many years of experience in that, but he has a lot of skills that this person who has spent so many years doing particularly data science, he wouldn't bring that understanding of all those different aspects of the business, right? So
Yes.
maybe that answers your question. I don't know. I think
Yeah, yes, it does. It's just that, there are so many, different, let's say, tools and statements talking about, how you should hire. And sometimes when you look at a very dry perspective on, okay, here are, I mean, as a company looking for someone, you set out the most, let's say, perfect candidate that you're looking for. And in reality, in all the hires I did myself personally, and there's so many across different departments, across different levels, you always look for the best matching, and then you try to compensate for those, let's say, points where the candidate has not tick the boxes. You try to compensate through something else. And the question is more so about, how do you compensate for that, and through which skills do you compensate? For me personally, it has always been, and this is also my next question, it's about emotional intelligence. It's about resilience. And is this someone I would actually be able, would be comfortable, sitting next to, coordinating, teaching, and do I believe in the growth of this person? And that's one of the essential things for me always. If you hire outside of your norms for a certain position, or even globally, as a company, let's say, policy, you always try to compensate consciously, unconsciously, you always try to compensate for that part which the candidate has not ticked all the boxes for. And that is something that you get from experience, I think. And I also think that as a hiring manager within the company, you always look at the company dynamics and understand if this is actually someone who is culturally fit for your company. Moving on to the next topic, which is tech and AI in global business. So we will just try to understand a bit more. What problems did you aim to solve with Export Smart, and what were the unexpected learnings, let's say, along the way for yourself?
I found that every week, the one biggest headache that anyone in logistics has is one document missing with every cargo. And it's been 20 years of them in the business, that they're missing this one or another document is filled in the wrong way, and the cargo gets stuck, then lots of fees, surcharges, and lots of headache. And it's very costly. Okay. And I found while doing the research that the biggest, the baddest, the most recognized, the most respected companies, none of them have figured out the operating process for those papers, And this is, I think, where AI can come in. And I sat down a lot of CEOs and I was asking about their process. I was asking where do they see mistakes? What do they want to delegate? Okay. I was asking a lot of questions. It took me 9 months to figure it out. But it's funny because nobody has ever dedicated 9 months to doing this. They're too busy chasing this financial compensation for those services that they don't have time to really, from the outsider's perspective, to look at the bigger picture. So this is something very strange that they found. Yeah, it's all based on people. If the people change, everything changes. So yes. I think that it will be very beautiful to see this changing because of AI. Yeah.
Right. So what you're saying is that you have used that opportunity to actually use your time and resources to look at it from outside and actually do the same job that any, let's say, strongly evolving import or export company would do, but they don't have the resources or time or even motivation to do so, because it's easier for them to compensate those parts that are actually missing with time or money, and then you come in by looking at it from a wider perspective and taking the time to do so. Yeah, that's a very, this is how good, successful businesses are actually built. Is about, how can you have an unbiased perspective on very important issues, and actually make something out of it, and find a problem to be solved, and a problem that is led by so many. I mean, I've been involved with all these documentations also for many years, working in the import export industry. I mean, we haven't really worked with the import procedure itself, but then when our customers were importers, distributors, they were the ones that were requesting for all the documents. And I know how strict it is, first of all, and second of all, how things can quickly change in terms of requirements for imports. When you're talking about alcoholic beverages, when you're talking about dangerous goods, which is also part of alcohol, it's very challenging. So I wish you good luck with your new endeavor. I'm very much looking forward to see it becoming the next big thing.
Everyone is. They say, Lina, what you're working on is the future. We're too scared to see it, but I'm very glad that somebody is doing it. Yeah, but I want to regress a little on what you said. You said I'm non-biased. Actually, I'm very biased. I really want transparency. I don't want people who are very big to keep secrets to themselves and tank the market just because they have the in, right? So I'm very, very strongly biased. I want good food available for everyone, and this is my bias, and I recognize that. So I don't. I think my strong motivation that is very transparent and people can see it is. I really truly believe in the mission that it should be easy to do. You don't need all of those complications.
Sure.
And make very long lists of paper like terms and conditions where there is one clause that will screw you over in the end. Actually, it's not how business is supposed to be, right? It's about trust. It's about creating value together. And I think all of those tools that we're building, it's not only the customs clearance, we're building education on how to approach people, how to present your product, how to create a price list even, because it should be done in a very different way here for Asia. That will empower people to come out and be like, oh, let me give it a try. Yeah. So.
Okay.
I'm very, very biased. That's all I was saying.
Right. Good luck, Lina. So moving on to a bit of a topic which is quite interesting, because it's about female leadership across continents. So how did being a woman in business impact your path in Asia? I mean, I know we have been, in private talking about this a lot, but it would be nice to hear for the viewers as well, so you can tell us a bit more.
So last time we talked about it, I throw it back at you. Like, why did you pick me and not a dude for your China project?
Are you asking the question back to me? Well, I think that. Besides the sole purpose of women being on this planet, on Earth, if to talk in isolation about business in general, I think women have the capability and the ability to actually do so much more than men can do, and it even comes down to a very, very simple. I don't want to dumb it down so hard, but to a very simple statement that, the multitasking women are able to do in terms of their thoughts and minds, it's much more sophisticated and broader than any man can do. Men, they're good leaders, they're good managers, we're good. We see a goal and we run after it, as in the good old days. We see a target and we go hunt. But a woman will go hunt by thinking about a million other things at the same time. And this is the capability, I think personally for myself, I have not developed yet, and I don't think I physically will be able to develop. So I don't know if that answered your question, but I think that is also one of the things.
A lot of examples that I hear from the business community is that women are very good diplomats, and I even have a degree in diplomacy.
For sure.
So you kind of renegotiate, right? And you try to find that common denominator, which is essential for sales, right? I think female leadership, again, I need to pick my staff or my team very carefully, because not all of them are comfortable having a female boss, right?
Is it still a deal? Is it still something that people are not comfortable with?
Definitely, yep. Now
Okay.
I'm older. I started when I was 20 something in business, so it was much more difficult. Now it's easier because it's just I'm older. And I think I don't speak a new language. I speak the same language. It's just what they see is easier to accept.
Right.
Yeah, and venture capital, only 2% of female founded businesses are funded, right? Why? I think
Yes.
there is a lot of bro lingo and bromance and all of this after work activities that bros do
Right.
together, and there's no way I
Bros.
could be a part of that. There's just no way. I can only rely on my intellect and on my hard work. And that means that my team needs to rely on their intellect and hard work. They cannot rely on bribery, on forming these kickback kind of relationships. Actually, it needs to be a lot of intellect in the business.
Right.
And I think it's just you need to pick a team that trusts you, that sees the value in what you're doing. This year in Hong Kong, they announced 5 top companies, startups in Asia. Okay, it was a global competition by Alibaba. All 5, it's like the same guy, all of them 30s to 40s, either Asian or white, no diversity, no female. And I was asking them, I was saying, is it really the world we want to live in, that there's no single female founder that is the best in the world with 5 best businesses? Like really, it's only the men who can develop good businesses? Is this how you want to see it? And the reality in Hong Kong is that the opportunity cost is very high. It's a very expensive city. It's compared to London and New York, like the living cost is very high. And so security and safety is probably the primary consideration. But also I'm saying, when I was running an incubator in Shanghai, somehow we always had cohorts that are 50-50 male-female, or maybe female even higher than male. So we found a way, the language, to communicate with the female founders, to be able to support them, encourage them, inspire them, right? Yeah. But I see that still a lot of work still has to be done. Just the way the business is set up today is still very outdated in some ways.
I see, but it doesn't stop you from doing what you're doing.
AI will change all of it. I had a very big challenge. I was creating an avatar for my AI tool, right? And it needs to be a person. Hi, my name is something, and here I'm here to support you with this and this task. And I know it cannot be a robot. Definitely, it cannot be a they, them. It has to be a person that society here in China can accept. So is it a girl or is it a boy? Is it a man or is it a woman? Like how do I make this choice?
Right.
So I talked to a lot of people in the trading industry, and they said all of the bosses are used to having secretaries who are female. So you can only fight one problem at a time. Your problem now is to build this AI tool that will support this new way of doing this business. And this is already a fight that very few are able to win. So if you add to this fight and you choose an avatar that's a male, right, this will distort the image of the usual working conditions. And personally, as a female founder, this was such a difficult decision for me, but I think they're right. Like you can only fight one fight at a time. So whatever is easier to adopt, whatever feels more natural or more intuitive, this is what the people will choose. So at this time in the history of the world, unfortunately, I don't see that we could present a personal assistant who's a strong male in his 50s. This is not how the world works.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. Moving on to the future of global e-commerce. Sorry?
Sad.
Well, yes, true. So the post-COVID market dynamics and what trends do you see happening in the next 5 years in cross-border e-commerce? Because I know we have been in touch for many years now, talking about this cross-border e-commerce and about all the duty-free zones and in Shanghai and in other places. But what is your vision on cross-border e-commerce?
So when we talked about it earlier, I sent you an article from World. What was it? World Economy Forum, was it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite interesting. They say that AI agents will revolutionize the market. So it's really fun for me to be a part of it and to make it more transparent so that people can make better decisions. I think that will definitely be a big trend moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know, like I only know what I'm working on and the people that I meet. So it's a very isolated bubble. I cannot speak for the whole world, but I'm pretty sure that the language barrier in China is, very difficult for people to overcome, the time zones. And if you launch an AI agent that can do a lot of stuff for you, that is working on your time zone in your language, that will simplify a lot of decision-making processes for people, and this is what we're working on.
Yeah, okay, cool. So if to give one very straightforward suggestions to European brands who want to be ultra-competitive in Asia, what is this one word that you would give them?
Value.
Value.
Find your value
can you elaborate on that?
So unfortunately, Europe is criticized not only by Asians but also by Americans for being very fragmented, and people believe that when they start in their native market, they will go through the learning curve and they will duplicate that learning curve in new markets. But they don't seem to realize that their native market doesn't represent the world's markets, and actually each market has a different need, different consumer, different competitors, right? And if you start by thinking about your native market, you will never be a global brand, So I think this is, you need to define your value for that consumer that you're trying to, target.
Right. So what you're saying is that being very successful in the European market, it can be Western Europe, Eastern Europe, doesn't matter, Europe in general, does not give you the confidence and the ability and the experience to actually go into the Chinese market and be successful without actually understanding the value that you are creating in China. Not the value you create for yourself by selling more and making bigger revenue, right? This is the value you're talking about.
I will have a different perspective because I think this confidence is injuring the situation. It's hurting the situation.
Okay.
Actually, you need to be humble. You cannot come confident and arrogant like a lot of Europeans do. And you need to listen, you need to be flexible. And if, for example, you're very good... Okay, so I'm from Lithuania, right? And when people start telling me, oh, we're much better than Polish products, while in China it's irrelevant. Poland and Lithuania is almost the same country when you look from China. It's like in Lithuania when they think that Tanzania and Kenya is the same country, right? Like for them it's the same. So that means that you're so used to competing in your little pond, you don't see that there is a wide ocean. And in the ocean, you don't even know what kind of fish is out in the ocean. What, So for China, we always kind of start by defining who is this person that will benefit from your product the most. And when the Italians are very good at competing the wine from the north versus the wine from the south in Italy, they're so engaged in this conversation. I know you've been in alcohol industry, so you probably know how proud they are to be better than their southern competitors. But in China, when you look at wine, it's red or white, and then there is Argentina, there is Australia, there is South Africa. Nobody cares if you're better than your southern Italian competitors, but people have not stepped out and seen, where's their place in this global market. So
Right, right.
on the flip side, I think that Europe is amazing and we have very unique products and they're usually much better than any competitors in the quality. But it's just because of this regional mentality and focus on the native market, people have not developed the language to stand out in this international marketplace.
We have one last topic left, which is a bit of philosophical reflection. So, when everything is quiet, no investors, no clients, no coffees with your incubator friends or any other, finance bros or whoever, what keeps you going?
I think I don't need anything to keep me going. I just feel the pull. It's not that I was looking around and waiting for my next business endeavor. Actually, it just fell into place and it was just the most natural feeling to develop in that direction. So I think what keeps me going is the gratitude that I can still do this. It's this joy and excitement, seeing people's feedback and their excitement is just this constant joy and this creativity that comes with it. Yeah. I really like quiet and I spend a lot of time in quiet because of my meditative practices, right? So I'm really okay to be in quiet and actually the whole yogic perspective is that you always are in between that push and pull. You need to find your core to be able to either push or pull depending on the situations arising in your life. You don't need to decide until the situation arises, so then you become very flexible and you have the core of what you hold on to, what you let go of, you define yourself, what are your values, why are you doing this. So I think when you're clear on that, then there's no problem to being quiet because all the chatter in the mind is not conflicting with what you're doing. It's actually aligned, it's integral.
Right. Okay, amazing perspective. And just to close off, so do you believe the entrepreneurial journey is more about control or surrender?
I saw something online and I'll agree with it. I think entrepreneurial journey is the most incredible spiritual practice in becoming yourself. It's just structured to be about money because many people have seen bad business practices. But I think real entrepreneur is somebody who will create something valuable for people that they don't even know personally. And I think it is a spiritual practice. And it's that space in between controlling and letting go and surrender. You surrender to the mission, to the bigger picture, to the bigger cause. But you control what is in your control, right? Like there is no way I can control Lithuania and China dynamics, but what I can control is my everyday. So I wake up in the morning, I reply to people that I can help, right? This is what I can control. And then you let go of things that are beyond your, personality or personal agency. Yeah.
Right. Great.
What do you
Amazing.
think?
Lina. Sorry, what?
What do you think?
I have a very similar understanding of it. It's about both. It's never about one thing. You surrender to things, as you said, which you cannot control, or you have no physical, mental capability of controlling. It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't mean that you are surrendering to something in a negative way. And control, well, we all want control, some more, some less, but it's more so about self-control for me in this journey. So yeah, we have a very similar view on that, and that's a very good let's say closing statement for our today's episode, because the spiritual side of life is also something that counts for much more than people think. So Lina, thank you so much for being on this episode. I really wish you luck with your next endeavors. And if there is something that I can help you with personally, then definitely let's reach out. And outside of this episode, we're still very good acquaintances and friends and business partners from before. So I'm really, really happy to know you, and wish you all the best. And thanks for being on this episode.
Thank you. I think you guys brought an AI project many years ago. So now I'm working in AI. So it's very interesting how sometimes I think the world shapes you in a direction that you're supposed to go into, And I really accept that shaping. I never think that I'm self-made. I never think that I'm self-achieved. I think it is because of all of those experiences that people brought to me, and then I choose to put myself into, but it's surrendered. People bring the experiences to me, right? But I step into the shoes that I need to step in, finding a stylist, looking like a fashion icon, for a moment. I'm not complaining. I was looking good. But I think it's very interesting how sometimes the parallels that appear will resonate much later in life, So I really think that what we worked on together and the way you guys were thinking about things really reflects in my day-to-day today. But it was 10 years ago that the seed was planted. So thank you for that.
Well, I'm happy to be able to contribute to what you are chasing today. So that's what people are all about. Lina, thank you so much for being on this episode of Beyond the Resume, and wish you all the best. Wish you all the good luck.
Thank you. I wish a lot of people can become your subscribers and engage you in the comments to make it accessible to people. And I hope you can achieve everything you want to achieve with this project. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was Beyond the Resume. Huge thanks to Lina Bartusevičiūtė for the bold insights, real talk, and for showing us what global experience look like when it meets local ambitions. If you're building a brand, leading a team, or thinking differently about work in Lithuania, I hope this gave you something to chew on. And if it did, pass it on to a founder, a hiring manager, or someone who's building their next chapter. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.